Hello guys, Sujara speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 931. Today we get into Find DW episode 10. He played DW for how long? And we get to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh come on, really? Hang on. Thinking something's wrong right here. Okay. Continue in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. Finally.
Hi, I'm Jason Schwimmer, and this is a podcast about my journey to meet 7 male strangers who all have one thing in common with me. We all played the voice of DW, the little sister character on the popular kids show, Arthur.
Okay.
Arthur, it's Saturday! Oh, yeah.
That's me, in an episode called Arthur's Snowbiz. An episode where there's a big snowstorm and Arthur and Buster compete to see who can create the best snow clearing business in town. The episode aired in September 2003. Last week, I spoke with Andrew Dayton, the 6th person who played the voice of DW on Arthur. I also spoke with Ethan Pugiotto, the 8th and potentially last person who will ever play DW on Arthur.
Wow.
Talking with them helped me get a little bit closer to finding the answer to the question I'm searching for.
Okay.
When I was the voice of DW, did I peak? Will I ever do anything more meaningful or significant? I have now spoken to all the male voice actors who played the voice of DW.
Wow.
I guess that means I can pack up my microphone and head home, right? Except, right when I started releasing episodes of this podcast, I got a DM on Instagram that changed everything.
Wow.
I can't believe I found this. I used to voice DW for a brief period in 2007. I recorded a couple of episodes before my voice changed.
Wow.
I read your article in the Toronto Star, and I can't believe there are so many of us out there. Ryan Ironworth. I couldn't believe it. Ryan's name doesn't appear anywhere online as someone who played the voice of DW, but here he was.
Wow.
Another person who has this shared experience with me and the other former voices of Arthur's little sister. I responded, and thankfully, he agreed to speak with me. Here's what Ryan sounded like as the voice of DW.
Well, I don't like it. I say we call it Castle Starfish.
And here's what he sounds like now.
Hello, my name is Ryan Ironworth, and I was the 3rd and a half person to play DW on Arthur. I had the part in season 7 in 2007. It's so crazy to just connect with somebody that did something that you did and similar age, similar experiences with child acting. I mean,
I had him say 3rd and a half because he played the part briefly, right after me, and before Robert Naylor, who was the 4th person to play DW.
I guess my story might be slightly different than everybody else's, but it's interesting to reminisce nonetheless.
But
Wow.
how briefly are we talking here?
I got my mom to send me a few of the emails back from that time. She happened to have them, so I was looking back. I taped my first episode on September 11th, 2006 at Studio 306. The email was saying that at the time they had only committed to one episode because they wanted to make sure that my voice was going to blend in well with the rest of the cast. The casting director, I believe, was Trevor Toffin, right? Or Toffin. And from what my emails show is that she was very supportive of my voice, but that the production company was really wanted to make sure that everything kind of matched up with the previous actor, which of course would have been you, Jason. And I guess that for whatever reason, after the first pilot episode they decided to go into a different direction.
Wow. Okay, so you really did only do one episode?
I did only one episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Wow.
how each episode of Arthur is broken into two 10-minute episodes? Well, his episode is called Swept Away, which
Wow.
aired in June 2007.
That could very likely be true. In which case, I'm the only actor who did half an episode of Arthur.
That's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite unique in that sense, right? I it's so hard to think back at that time and remember the exact details, but I think that what the situation was is they had me read for a few different episodes at the time, and that maybe
Mhm.
if they used the one, I'm not exactly sure, but they decided, hey, this is not the voice we'd like. Maybe it's a little bit too husky, a little bit too deep, so we're going to go in with a different direction.
How did you feel when you
Wow.
heard about this podcast and sort of the idea behind it?
You know, it's funny because it seems like, you know, even though this role was so short-lived for me, it seemed to have followed me for many a year. It seems to be my trivia. Anytime anybody asks you, tell me two truths and a lie, this one always tends to come up, and it has a certain way of following us around.
I asked him if he remembered his audition.
I do remember auditioning. I remember getting the call back and being tremendously excited that I was getting a call back. And then I remember booking it and thinking,
Wow.
wow, this is the greatest thing ever. But I don't even know if I was aware at the time that it was going to be, you know, this singular commitment that would be something that I would have to prove myself over time and time again in order to retain the part.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's just so long ago that I can't remember the exact details. But I do remember when I was first asked to read for the part, just being really excited, being like, this would be amazing for me if I was able to learn this part.
And I'm realizing that if at any point they played back, if they were like, here's what DW sounds like, and if they played that into your headphones, that
Would've
might
been
have
you.
been would have been me.
It would have been you, absolutely. I think that was the whole process. It would have been hearing the voice, trying to mirror the voice as best as I could, the meter of the voice, all just shaping my voice completely, like almost like filling a vase, right? You're trying to match that voice, the energy of the voice, the tempo of the voice, and if you can do that in the right way, then you're going to be the successor part.
How do you feel
Yes.
when people sort of react to you telling them that you were DW? I mean, do they even believe you?
Yeah, it comes with a little bit of shock and awe. It's one of those characters I feel like that's just so enduring. The whole show is just so enduring that when you mention those characters or the show itself, people just tend to get excited. They recognize it as a show that they likely watched as a child, and anytime that they hear that one of their friends or one of their colleagues has been a part of it, it brings up some excitement and some joy.
Yes.
It's been fun to play around with for sure. For me, it's just so interesting to just like go back to that time of my life where not a lot of lucid memories, but just a time where it was very formative in a way.
So I'd love to sort of get into your career as an actor, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually had done some acting starting around 2003 before becoming the voice of DW in 2007.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
It started for me quite young. I guess it would have been 7 or 8 years old. I was always really comfortable in front of people and in front of the camera. For me, it was just an outlet for my bubbly personality. It was always, I felt more comfortable in an adult world than I did necessarily in a child world. So for me, it was just, natural for me to be on stage and to begin acting. So it started in 2003 with a couple of short films that I did. And it really kind of percolated along to, into my early teens.
Wow.
Those are both things we have in common. I also felt pretty comfortable as a kid in an adult world. And I got into voice acting because my mom thought I would be good at it thanks to my outgoing personality as a kid. I asked Ryan if he could sort of speak on what that felt like, being a kid in an adult's world, and why that was important for you.
Yeah, I mean, I echo that certainly. It feels like one of those complex emotions that's difficult to quantify, but for me, it was always just I wouldn't even say it was a level of maturity, but just maybe a level of confidence that I had that maybe other people didn't, where it was just so easy for me to transition into different environments and be able to demonstrate who I was. I think, I might have had a better sense of self at that time than maybe I do now, which is curious to me, especially listening to your previous episodes of the previous actors looking to find their way. I kind of see that side of it as well, where it's being thrust into this role or into acting generally as a young child, and now coming to terms and reconciling it with your current life.
All right, let's take a quick break. Here's a word from our sponsors.
Okay.
Finding DW is independently produced by me, Jason Schwimmer. If you want to support the show, the best way you can do that is by checking out my Patreon.
Okay.
Supporters like you help me spend more time doing what I love, creating this podcast for you to enjoy. Plus, when you support this podcast, you'll gain access to exclusive bonus podcast episodes that feature full-length interviews with each person who appears on my show. Head to patreon.com/findingdw. That's FINDINGDW. No punctuation. There's also a link in the episode notes. Thank you very much. And now, back to the show.
You're welcome, Jason.
Welcome back. Ryan got so much fulfillment from being a voice actor, but are you still working as a voice or screen actor?
So I'm not. No, I think I pivoted away from that roughly about the time I entered high school.
Wow.
It seemed to be one of those situations where it just became a little bit overwhelming with work and school and outside activities, and I really just kind of wanted to focus in on my personal life as opposed to a professional life at that such an early age.
Can you tell me about why you stopped working as an actor and the decisions in your life that led you towards studying law?
Right. I think really what was the major trigger for me to stop acting. So I grew up in Markham, Ontario, which it's about 20 minutes outside of Toronto, half an hour outside of Toronto. And I just remember being stuck in these cattle call acting auditions with hundreds and hundreds of kids and sitting there for 2 hours while you're waiting for your 5 o'clock audition that doesn't take place till 7:30 at night. And for me, that just became so onerous after, it would have been almost 10 years of competing for roles, getting certain roles, being rejected for certain roles. And I just thought, I got to do something different. I always had a passion for education, reading, writing, always had that creative side to me. But I also had a passion for social issues and social justice, which I think led naturally to a career in law. I always thought that it would be something that I would be interested in doing. And I think a lot of the skills that I built through a year or through a career as an actor really translate well as an advocate. You have certain oral and written abilities, the ability to have the confidence in front of people, whether it's delivering a monologue or advocating on behalf of a client in court. I think a lot of those two skill sets really play off each other very well.
Was it difficult to step away from the world of acting, the world of show business?
Yeah, I think it was. I think for so long it just served as such a major part of my identity that when that part of me got stripped away, I think like everybody, there's a natural grieving process to it. It's something that, when I finally decided to go a different direction, for me it just I had to find a new passion, and without that passion in my life for a while, just kind of felt lost. You know what I mean? I think of myself 14, 15 years old in a period where you're really just trying to establish an identity as a person. And for so long, this piece of me was my identity.
Yes.
And to take that away from me was really, it was difficult in some ways. And it naturally, I was looking for something else. And I guess this is kind of the path that I've gravitated towards, whether it was a conscious decision or an unconscious decision.
I asked Ryan if he felt weird or strange for having played the voice of a girl on TV.
You know what? I don't think so. I think for me, it was just super excited to have a role on a major television show, and it didn't matter if it was male, female, human, or aardvark. It
Wow.
was just exciting for me to keep building my career, which is weird to say, as I guess I would have been 12 years old, but at the time it was important for me. Here's a show that could be a stepping stone to something else, and it really it must have been because I continued to do voice work for quite a while after that. On a few
Yeah.
different shows.
How did your friends and family react when you started, working as an actor, even before DW?
Yeah, I mean, it was always something that made me feel special, maybe something that differentiated me from my peers in some way. Not in an egotistical type sense, but in a sense that maybe it was an egotistical type sense.
I know that sometimes I've included that I was the voice of DW as a line on my resume when applying to jobs. I figure it's a good way to help me throw something out there that helps me stand out a little. I wanted to know if that's something Ryan does in his law career.
So it's not. It's something, again, I've also considered doing, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to just define myself by my work now and not necessarily by my work in the past. It's very tempting to tap into that sort of not fame, but that sort of allure that surrounds this industry that we are in. But nothing that I've necessarily
Mm-hmm.
brought up in a professional context, but
Yes.
something that I like to bring up every once in a while in a social setting where it can always be an interesting point of conversation, something that happened in my past that people might find interesting. It's that balance between having success at a young age and seeking success as an adult, and they don't necessarily correspond to each other. It's really about sort of trying to pave your way through your old identity into your new identity.
Which was interesting to hear because that's exactly how I feel. I would also prefer to define myself based on the work I'm doing now, not
Wow.
just by something I did when I was 10. Except, Ryan feels comfortable bringing up that he was DW in social settings, something I find myself getting better and more comfortable with over time. Did playing DW change you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Whether it's wow, that's a provocative question.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I think it surely did in maybe more ways than I can really understand. I think it was really reflective of my entire acting career
Mm-hmm.
as a whole. Great highs, great lows, and everything in between.
And given that Ryan seems to have made peace with having played DW, that he's moved on and into another career entirely, but looks back fondly on his past as a voice actor, I asked if he had any advice for me on how to complete my journey.
You know what? I don't think you'll ever be able to completely move on from a role like that. I think it's just so big and so defining. But I think
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're gonna do, the best thing that you can do is dive headlong into it. Pave your way like you did before. And I think if you can put that much energy and that much passion into anything, that you can become whatever you'd like to be, whether it's a talk show host or DW.
When I started with
Yes.
this mission, I was asking myself about whether or not I would ever do anything more meaningful or significant in my life than playing DW on Arthur. But ever since speaking with Andrew Dayton, the 6th DW, I feel differently. Maybe I won't do anything more famous than playing DW, but that doesn't mean that what I do in my life isn't meaningful. But in terms of chasing a high or a level of success, I was curious if Ryan might sort of feel like you're trying to do that with law.
In some ways, I think I am. I think, but again, it just goes back to personal feelings of validation versus external feelings of validation, where you have all these people around you at such a young age saying, wow, you're doing something that's awesome, that's interesting, that's unique. And maybe you're not feeling that at the time, but then when you become an adult and you feel something that you're doing is to yourself incredibly validating, you're still searching for that external validation, which you might not necessarily be getting in your day-to-day 9 to 5. And I think that might be something that causes me some struggle as an adult. And a thought just popped up to me, and I wonder if I had my own kids and I wanted to put them through a similar experience, would I?
Yeah.
The answer is I don't know. I don't know if it's something that has left a lasting impact on my psyche, whether it was something that was positive and built confidence and people skills moving forward, or whether, I think that's part of the challenge of being a child actor as well. You see, a lot of these kids getting built up so high and falling down rather quickly, but there's got to be something in the middle too.
Yes.
And it's an interesting thought.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that in a way we're grieving properly.
Yeah, that word grief, it's, I mean, it really is truly the feeling that I feel with that role in some ways. I properly grieve that role and I've moved on and here I am today.
Yeah. But as Michael Scott once said, there's such a thing as good grief. Just ask Charlie Brown.
Which is lame, he said about Charlie Brown, which is lame enough. Continue on. Come on, really? Something wrong with my mouth again. Continue on.
That's so good.
I still can't believe that there was this mysterious other DW out there who found me. Speaking with Ryan was surreal. It was amazing to hear about his experience playing DW in what was likely only one episode of Arthur. I was so glad to connect with him and to tell his story. Plus, I realized that while speaking with him, that I've started feeling differently about having played DW. While we were talking, I didn't feel like I was trying to find answers. It felt more like we were both sharing the conclusions we had come to, like two students comparing what they'd written in an essay. For Ryan, having played the voice of DW is an experience he looks back on fondly, and something that he honors in the form of bringing up in social settings. He has a respectful appreciation for his time in the role, and seems at peace with where he is now. His grieving is done, and after having talked to him, I think I'm almost done too. So, thanks for talking with me, Ryan. I'm really glad I decided to find the other guys who played DW. Through listening back to my conversations with each person, I can hear myself building a better relationship with my time as DW than I had before. So that's it for this episode. Now I've really spoken to all the actors who played DW. Guess that means the mission's over, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if I told you that there's more? What if I told you that DW is based on a real person and that I've decided to track down and interview that person too? Well, that's true.
Wow.
And I found all this out by speaking with the most trustworthy source possible when it comes to all things Arthur. Here's a clip.
And Arthur was always like the straight man. He would set it up and DW would come in for the kill.
Yeah.
I gave you all those good lines.
I appreciate it. I love talking.
You did a good job with them.
Thank you, Mark. That means a lot. That's right. Next time, my conversation with the creator of Arthur, Mark Brown. And until then, thanks for listening. This podcast was made possible in part from contributions through Patreon from listeners like you. Thank you, Blendy, Quinton Reviews, Sam Brodaddy, and Alex.
Hang on. Mute. So that was, I'm gonna pause that. Sorry about that. It's not very important. So that was, he played DW for how long? Episode 10 of Find DW. What did I think about this episode? I think it was amazing. So far, this episode was a success. And that was LJPCBM episode number, let's say 931. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be LJPCBM episode number 932. episode 11 of Finding DW, the Mark Brown episode. Now, excuse me, I gotta check the batteries of my mouse because it's going to die on me pretty soon, and then things like that. Till next time, Sue Joseph, bye, so baby. We can always react, guys, pursue. Till then, say out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.